think we're ready to go ahead and kick things off and get started. Welcome everyone to the March Azure Arc Server Forum. We have got an awesome agenda planned for you today. We're going to start off with deploying an Ansible playbook with machine configuration and Azure policy, and I'm excited to welcome Aileen, product manager on the Arc team, to share more about that. Then we've got Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager, some of the experiences we're thinking around with SCCM, and excited to invite Mason, another PM on the Arc server team, to share more about that. And finally, we're going to be talking about two more recent capabilities around its scale enablement of the Auto Agent upgrade capability, with which you can stay with the latest and greatest Arc agent version, as well as TPM-backed identity. And Eunice, the co-presenter for the Arc server forum, and also PM on the Arc platform team, is going to share more about that. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. One thing we have gotten quite a few questions from different folks is, how do I keep track? Like, let's say I forget to attend one of these sessions or have a conflict. We actually post recaps for every single Azure Arc server forum in our Azure Arc blog. And this is a great place to also learn about updates in terms of new capabilities across the Azure Arc platform, across Kubernetes, SQL, gateway capabilities, etc. But on this Azure Arc blog, we also summarize every single Azure Arc server forum. We include the YouTube link for our recordings, as well as all of the sign-up links for different preview opportunities that we share during the forum. Finally, we share the date of the next forum just to make sure you have that on your calendar as well in case there's any issues with the newsletter. So we highly encourage you to check out the Azure Arc blog and subscribe for any updates there, and the links provided as well. With that bit of housekeeping done, excited to invite Aileen to share more about the deployment of Ansible Playbook through machine configuration, and also invite Amit and Garaj as well to moderate that. So take it away, Aileen, Amit, and Garaj, and feel free to either take control of the slides or start representing, whatever works for you.
Everybody, I'll go ahead and take control of the slide. Okay. All right. Hello. As Arnav mentioned, my name is Aileen. I'm one of the Azure Arc Platform PMs, and moderating the chat today we'll have Amit and Garaj, who are lead engineers for this new Ansible Playbook policy capability that uses machine configuration to deploy the Ansible Playbook on your Azure and Arc VMs. All right, so let's get into it. So like I mentioned, this is going to be a new built-in policy. It's in private preview right now. And at a very high level, what it does is you'll provide your playbook as a parameter during the policy assignment creation. And then Azure Policy will actually be the one handling the orchestration of the playbook across your target machines. So in this scenario, there is no Ansible control node. If you already use Ansible Core, this is a really nice way to add automation utilizing an Azure service. The execution of the playbook is handled by the machine configuration agent or the Arc agent, depending if it's an Azure VM or an Arc VM. And some nice capabilities that come with this policy is that you get OS configuration drift detection and remediation via machine configurations apply and autocorrect mode. And then with all the benefits of Arc, you get a nice unified view of all your compliance reporting. So the results of the playbook tasks actually get sent back to Azure, and it gets displayed in the compliance dashboard as compliant and non-compliant. And you can also see the results of each task that's executed in your playbook in the compliance dashboard. So let's go ahead and take a look at that experience in Azure Portal. I'll go ahead and share my portal window. Okay, can everybody see my portal window? Okay, let me just move this off screen. I'm gonna think that silence is a yes. Cool. Okay, so here I am. I'm in policy, and I've gone and clicked on the assignments page here. And from here, we can go ahead and assign the new Ansible Playbook policy. So I'll go ahead and click that. In the Basics tab here, you'll see the pretty standard policy page where we select our scope. So for this policy, the scope options are going to be subscription and resource group. So I'll go ahead and select a subscription and a resource group. Then the next option we have here is to actually select the Ansible playbook in the policy definition. So I'll go ahead and just quickly search for that policy definition. And here it is. You'll note that it says preview. We are preparing for private preview, and I'll share that info after this demo. So I've gone ahead and selected the Ansible playbook policy. One thing you'll note here is that when I select this policy definition, it auto-populates the assignment name. In this case, we want to give the assignment name a unique and descriptive name, not to the default that gets auto-populated here, because this policy supports multiple assignments. So what that means is that under this policy, you can create as many assignments as you want. And so you want to make sure to give each one a distinct name so you can actually identify your different assignments under this policy. So I'm going to call this one security hardening. I'll go ahead and click next. And now I'm at the parameters page. I'm going to uncheck this box here that says only show parameters that need input or review.
I'm late for another meeting. So I'm gonna get some, I'm trying to set up a meeting with the rep.
Okay, so we can see here that the three required parameters in this case are going to be include Arc connected servers. Since we are in an Arc server forum, I'm going to set that to yes. And then we provide the playbook URL and the hash. If I uncheck this box, you'll see there's optional parameters here. To provide a variables file. So if your playbook has a lot of variables, you want to put that into a file, you can provide that link URL here. And if you have any external dependencies in your playbook and you have a requirements YAML, you can provide a link to that here. So let's go ahead and fill these out now. One thing that I want to note with the playbook URL, in private preview, we support public URLs and we support a private Azure storage URL that has a shared access signature to your Ansible playbook. And then the hash that you provide here, you'll see if you hover over the little I icon, it'll say it's a SHA-256 hash, and it's used for playbook verification and integrity. So you can use any command that generates a SHA-256 hash value if you give it a file. So in this case, I'll go ahead and populate that. And we'll just continue on there. But again, if you do have any of these other optional files, you can provide it. Okay, so now we are at the remediation tab. So if you create this policy assignment and you happen to have already existing Azure VMs and Arc VMs that you want to apply this policy to, then you need to select this box for create a remediation task. And it'll include whatever existing VMs are in your target scope. For any new VMs that are in your scope, those will just automatically be auto-remediated, so you won't have to do anything else there. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on Review and Create. So you can review all of your parameter settings before you go ahead and create this new policy assignment. It does take about 20 minutes for the new policy to initialize. So I'm not going to click Create here because I don't want you sitting here for 20 minutes waiting. But what I will do is I'll go ahead and show you what the compliance dashboard looks like once you have this policy set up. So we'll go back to Policy. We'll head to compliance. I will go ahead and look for the policy assignment that I already set up. Okay, so we can see here in the search box, I just put the name of my assignment because we have a lot of assignments in this test environment. And now I see the results of that policy assignment here. So there were 3 machines in my scope. One of them is not compliant. And so the overall state of this policy assignment shows as non-compliant, and we can go ahead and dig further into that by clicking on the assignment name. Okay, so now we are in the assignment details, and we can see here the 3 resources that were part of this assignment. We can see that 2 were compliant, 1 is non-compliant, and we can see the time that it was last evaluated. You can also export this to a CSV if you have, if you need to share this with your security team. If we want to check out the details of why this machine shows as non-compliant, we'll go ahead and click the details link. And then there's going to be this category called last evaluated resource. So we'll go ahead and click on that and give it a second to load here. This was much faster when I was testing this right before this meeting. Okay, so here we are. We're looking at the non-compliant resource. I'm going to go ahead and click this drop-down because I want to see all the tasks that were executed from this playbook on this machine, not just the not compliant. So you can see here, when you have the playbook, the results are sent back to Azure for each individual playbook task. So you can see here it says, okay, it's executing the security hardening playbook. And in this playbook, there's an install security package task. There's a make sure this service is running task, and there's a create admin users task. So there's a bunch of different tasks that are part of this playbook. And the one that's not compliant is to make sure that this service is running. So for private preview, we've set the remediation check to be every hour. So every hour it will check to see whether or not all these conditions have been met. And that's it for the demo. We are doing a private preview sign up now. Arnav, if you could share the PowerPoint, that would be super helpful so we can give that detail to folks who are interested in signing up for private preview. I will also drop the link to the sign up form. And private preview is actually starting today. So when you sign up, we'll get your contact info. We'll send you the details for how to get this policy in your test environment so you can play around with it. And that's all I've got. Thanks, everybody. Back to you, Arnav.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aileen. And thank you as well, Garaj and Amit. That was awesome to see. I'm not sure if there's any Q&A in the chat that you want to respond to now, or if you would want to take those offline.
We'll take a look now. Thanks, Arnav.
Awesome. All right, then I guess we can move to the next topic, which is around the Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager with Arc. And so for that, we'll have Mason present more about this. So take it away, Mason.
Thanks, Arnav. So hi, everyone. My name is Mason. I'm a PM on the Azure Arc platform team. And today I'm going to run through Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager and how we're thinking about this and how it integrates into the Azure Arc experience. So from a bit of a background, we understand and we realize that there is this on-premise reality for customers where they've got this deep investment into Configuration Manager. A lot of customers typically have large deployments and a wealth of experience, like over decades with configuration management, right? So they've got all this on-prem estate and infrastructure set up to do these management activities. And then at the same time, we have this shift to cloud-first strategies. People are becoming remote. We're doing distributed workloads. We need more of an ability to do things at scale. And through that, we have this evolving security and governance requirements that get more stringent and complicated as things progress. So what we'd like to do here is trying to understand how we can best integrate our existing MECM or SCCM into Azure Arc. So let me dive into what that looks like and what we're thinking about. So we've come up with this three-model adoption approach on how we might connect SCCM or Config Manager to Arc. And the first one is an agentless approach, which we've called connected inventory. And the idea here is that we install a small agent onto your site server and then capture all this inventory and metadata and push that into the Azure control plane. And then to the right of that on the screen, we have your typical Arc-enabled server. And this is the capability that you have today, where you install the Arc agent onto each endpoint, each server, and you decide whether you want to do that in monitor mode, where it just gives you like Azure Monitor and Defender for Cloud capabilities, or you want to install the full management mode, which gives you all of the Azure updates and configuration management capabilities. So these are the kind of the three scenarios that we're looking at. So if I dive into those in just a little bit more detail, for this connected inventory model, the concept here is that it's lightweight. It's very synonymous to the multi-cloud scenarios, how we connect to AWS and GCP, where you kind of just connect this environment through a connector, and then you get all this rich inventory and metadata that can be surfaced in Azure. And the purpose here is that it's supposed to be very minimal administrative burden and just a lightweight experience, but a lot of rich return value because of the data that's collected. And then, of course, I'm sure you're familiar with, again, the monitor mode and management mode, which is available today through deployment of the Arc agent directly onto end devices. So that's kind of a really like a high-level overview of how we're trying to think about how we can leverage the existing insights and data that you have on-prem and surface that into Azure and give you that kind of that one control plane and one visible view of your entire estate, no matter where the devices live. So I have a couple of questions, and at the end I have a link to a feedback survey where we'd love your insights into how valuable you think this is, and then how we might approach some of the setup experiences and deployment options for doing this. So one of the questions in that survey is, from a setup perspective, how would you like that to be, right? So option one here is your typical, I install the Arc agent onto my site server. It becomes an Arc-enabled machine. I pass in like a flag that says, hey, this is a site server. Please collect all the inventory and metadata and then surface that into Azure. And then the other option is it's kind of a more native built-in experience into the MECM console itself or to the config manager console. So instead of going through the Azure portal and configuring your Arc connected machine, you can do it directly in the configuration management console instead. So we're trying to meet you where you do your work. So if you're typically a customer that's purely in the config management environment and you want to, you don't want to leave that and go into the Azure portal to do your setup, option two might be the best approach. But if you're familiar with Arc and you're happy to Arc enable the site server, you might want to go with option one. So we kind of want some feedback in the best approach there. And of course, both options could be a good approach, right? So I'll share that link in a moment at the end for that survey feedback. So next, I want to go through a bit of an overview of what we're thinking it might look like, both in the configuration management console and in the Azure portal. So here we have a mock-up example of the config manager. As you can see on the left, we have now this Azure Arc Devices component, and then we can click on that and we see on the right, it shows all our devices from the site server, and it kind of gives us a status of whether devices are connected via this connected inventory. So we're sending all the inventory and metadata data into Azure. And of course, whether we've installed the Arc agent in that monitor or management mode, and then the status of that agent. So it's a very like traffic light, high level view of your devices and what data is being sent and how it's being sent to the cloud. And then the second feature here, if you look at the top left of this screenshot, for those connected inventory devices, we can then easily deploy into monitor mode or to management mode. So we're making that next step into getting those more capabilities super simple for you. So it's a right click or a select click of a collection of devices, and you can just deploy the agent in your own pace quite easily. So how does that then look in the Azure portal? Very similar as you would see Arc-enabled devices today, except this time you'll see for a connected inventory device, it'll be a read-only, and it will show you the distinction between a fully Arc-enabled machine versus a connected inventory machine. So again, this is just a mock-up. It might change slightly. Potentially, we'll have a view in the multi-cloud Azure pane where it shows you all the read-only devices, similar to how you would see them today from AWS or GCP. But the power behind all this is the rich inventory and metadata. So let me jump to the next slide about the Azure Resource Graph. So now that we have all these extra capabilities from our on-prem site server, we can then leverage the power of Azure Resource Graph to query our inventory and metadata. So here we have an example of a computer from site server, and we're just showing all of the software that's installed on that machine. So all we've done here is set up the connector on the site server. It's gone and polled everything from the site server itself and pushed that into the Azure control plane. No agent was required on this particular server, the endpoint device. So it's a really simple, lightweight, low burden method of getting all this data into Azure and giving you the power of Azure Resource Graph. And then because we're using the Azure Resource Graph, we can do some cool dashboards. We can leverage all those tools and ingest that data into to any tooling that we reporting tooling that we have. So again, here's just a sample of what our on-premise state might look like from our site server perspective, available in Azure. So I think that is the overview for the entire concept at a high level. The top link that I have here is just to a quick survey to get that feedback about your current estate and how you think the best deployment or setup experience might be for your environment. And then down the bottom, I have a link to the private preview, which won't start just yet, but if you're really interested, please feel free to sign up and we will reach out to you when that becomes available. And I think that's the end of my section. If there are any other questions, feel free to come off mute. If not, I will answer them in the chat.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mason. Really appreciate it. And I think for folks that missed last time, there was also the update on virtual machine apps with software distribution reaching private preview that folks and customers can sign up for, which I know is also a key kind of capability with respect to Configuration Manager a lot of customers have been asking for. But thank you again for sharing, Mason. And we'll also reserve some time at the end in case anyone has any extra questions as well.
Thanks.
Great. All right. I guess we'll hand over next to Eunice. So I'm not sure, Eunice, if you want to take control of the screen to share more about the TPM identity and auto agent upgrade capabilities as well.
Absolutely. Let me go ahead and take control. Awesome. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Yunus Hussain, product manager on the Azure Arc platform team. Today, I want to go over enabling automatic agent upgrade at scale. So just to give some context, automatic agent upgrade is a public preview feature, as you may know. And currently there are multiple ways to essentially enable it on a per server basis. But we've heard feedback on bringing that same multiple way to enable it at scale. And that's, I think, one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we've heard. So we're super excited today to introduce two new enablement options, one being Azure Policy, and then the other being a new CLI flag. So first, going over the built-in Azure Policy, it is now available to ensure that the auto upgrade feature is enabled on all machines within the given scope. So besides simplifying the at-scale enablement via auto remediation, that can be set for machines that are non-compliant before the policy was set, as well as the machines that are not enabled, the auto upgrade, which is not enabled for the machines after the policy is set. you also have this centralized compliance view through Azure policy reporting. So this is going to be super helpful for essentially saying, hey, every machine within a given subscription or given resource group, let's use this built-in policy, let's define this built-in policy essentially, and have all these machines enable automatic agent upgrade. And I've included the policy definition here, but we've also made changes to our official documentation to go through all the steps. Aileen has also kindly gone through how to kind of enable an Azure policy as well, but it's very similar. So yeah, on the official documentation, we've updated all of that. So we're super excited to be introducing this as one of the new enablement at scale features. But the next one is enabling at onboarding. So this isn't necessarily specifically for at scale enablement, but can absolutely be used for that as well. So we've introduced a CLI flag, which will allow to enable automatic agent upgrade during onboarding. So you would just essentially add the enable automatic upgrade flag to the AZCM agent connect command. And what that would do is once the agent, the machine essentially onboards successfully, it would also be enabled for automatic agent upgrade. Now, the amazing thing about this is that this can be done on a per server basis. So just using AZCM Agent Connect on a single server or through one of our many at scale experiences. And again, this has all been updated through our official documentation as well. So there are really in-depth steps, whether that be through configuration manager or any of the other larger at-scale methods. So yeah, again, super excited to be introducing this one, which can be used for both single machine experiences and at-scale experiences. So that's a little bit about the automatic agent upgrade. I will go on to the TPM-backed identity now, which is going to be something a little bit different. But at the end of this, if there are any questions about auto upgrade or TPM-backed identity, would like to answer both. So just kind of moving forward here. For TPM-backed identity, a couple forums ago, we actually presented this exciting new security feature. And I wanted to kind of come back on here and present it again. And this is mainly because we're excited to announce that this is now in a private preview. So what the TPM-backed identity is a couple things. It's a new security feature where the agent's identity keys are secured by the TPM, meaning that these private keys never leave the hardware. So it's extremely secure. And what it does is it provides hardware-backed attestation, which means stronger protection against credential theft. And then lastly, the amazing thing about this is that the onboarding experience is largely the same. So right now in private preview, we currently only have sort of the CLI experience. So there is no portal experience yet. So what you would do is add a CLI flag, which is the identity key store flag, and that is also going to be within the documentation if you do choose to join the private preview. And you can just add that to the AZCM agent connect command. And your machine, as long as it meets the prerequisites, can be enabled into this feature. So yeah, we're excited to provide more input for those who are excited, who would like to join the private preview. There is a AKA-MS link over here, and I will make sure to put that in the chat if this is something that's super interesting. But yeah, this is another sort of hardware security feature that we're introducing to Arc to sort of increase that security. So any questions around TPM-backed identity or automatic agent upgrade at scale enablement, please feel free to come off mute to ask that or put it in the chat and I can answer it.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Eunice. This is really exciting to see. I know we have so many exciting agent upgrade information, release notes every time. So it's great to have the auto agent upgrade be much more easy to opt into at scale. So that way you can stay on the latest Arc server connected machine version and benefit from all of the new capabilities that are constantly being added there, as well as the new TPM-based security sign up. And for folks, all of those signups are here in the chat. But if you have any questions, this is a great time. Eunice is here, Mason is here, Aileen's here. If you have any questions you have for the product group based off of today's presentation, to please come off mute. If you have the question, others might also. But if not, we'll be continuing to look at the chat. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and give folks some time back. This is a little bit of a lighter agenda this month, but I know next month we're going to kick it back with a much more intense agenda. So we're looking forward to welcoming everyone back in a month on our Thursday Arc Server Forum. And in the meantime, you're going to see a blog post and YouTube recording with all this information. So really appreciate it. And thank you again to our awesome presenters, Aileen, Mason, and Eunice, for sharing what's new and exciting with the Arc Server Forum. Appreciate it and have a great rest of your day. Cheers.